Welcome to another Buddies, Booze, and Bantered, Unfiltered Conversations. I'm Rick.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Alex, the producer.
Awesome. Good to see you both today. Alex, how was your visit to Vegas?
It was good. It was actually, I went to Atlanta.
This is another visit, guys.
Yeah, another visit. So I actually was in Birmingham for a business trip. I was 45 minutes from missing the entire presentation that I had to give.
Birmingham, Alabama?
Yep. Yeah, because after a delayed flight, issues at the car rental place, a 2.5 hour drive, I cut it a little too close.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what did we do in Vegas?
What did I do?
How long were you in Vegas first?
24 hours.
No, a lot can happen in 24 hours.
What did we do in the 24 hours?
So I went to my favorite steakhouse called Oscar's at the Plaza Hotel.
You and food.
I love steakhouses, man.
You love food, period.
I do. I like the experience of it.
That's
Cool.
true. And he loves to take photographs of it.
Yep, and send it to you. You don't ever send anything to me.
Because I'm not a real foodie.
I mean, you could
He doesn't go out.
I really don't.
No, he's.
Oh, come on. I mean, I'll send you. I mean, when you go out and drink, I could send you that. You know.
Yeah.
And actually, if I could just drink and not eat, I'd be happy.
No, I had a good time, but the flight. It was my turn, I think, and they were overbooked. They gave somebody $1,000 voucher to catch a later flight. I thought about it, but there's not many places on Spirit and Frontier that you need $1,000 for.
Well, I could have used that for the Dominican Republic
Yes, you could.
for our trip coming up in June.
Yeah, it'd be cool if you could gift those.
Yeah, I doubt you can do that.
No, you can't do that.
They nickel and dime and everything nowadays.
No.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, I was just watching.
I haven't been dumped on a flight before in a while, so it's like I don't know.
Dumped or bumped?
Bumped. I think I said dump, but
Yeah, you did say dumped.
okay.
I was about to say you need to explain the dumping part.
But so I don't know what the rules are.
Well, the rules are constantly changing. I mean, just today I was reading how now Delta is actually increasing the checked baggage costs and stuff like that. I mean, and I got something from American the other day, and there's special categories on what you can book. Where there's a significant like $50 or $60 difference. Is like, oh, you can carry a carry on. Are you kidding me? Why is this changing? I mean, first of all, fuel costs are going down because
they want to. They want to make more money.
Yeah, well,
but at least being gold on American, at least I get one free checked bag no matter what.
Yeah, I actually after last year I lost that since I haven't flown anymore. So at least on American. So because they gave us that kind of like reprieve for a little bit, I think. So
they do, and I don't. And the last few years, I have not gotten enough miles to keep it. But then you get this thing saying, okay, if you pay this extra fee, you can keep it.
Well, sometimes it's worth paying for it.
And so
doing a quick trip somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe you can just fly down to Houston, see Geraldine or something.
Well, but you need more than a quick trip. You got to have so many miles. So a quick trip might not get that or whatever. But
I did see there's something about American right now. They're doing a special. And I think you have to purchase before the 15th of March, but you also have to actually use the flight by the end of April. And it's like 5,000 miles, something really incredible.
Cool.
And I think there's quite a few locations of it. The sad thing about it is, unless you continue to fly, and it's too expensive to fly nowadays, you haven't accumulated many miles. That's for sure.
Well, and not only that, they charge you to redeem your miles. So I fly Spirit.
What?
Yeah, it's brand new. I fly Spirit. I had 10,000 miles.
You earn the miles,
yes.
And then they actually charge you to redeem them.
And it's not cheap. It's $50.
That is absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, the ticket was only $46.
Yeah, but by the time you add on the add-ons and everything,
yeah,
it's outrageous.
But I just take a backpack. So I was like, okay,
but don't you have to pay for that backpack?
No, you don't. As long as it's small.
So I think it's Frontier. Frontier, you have to actually pay for your carry-on and your check bag. I think Spirit, you can actually carry one on, but you still have to pay for the checked.
Well, both of them have a personal item. So it's like my purse, a backpack.
Your man purse?
Man purse.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, it's
Cool.
like Indiana Jones has one. It's fine.
I could actually fit a lot of that in there. So, yeah, I just think it's ridiculous that they're charging us to actually redeem our own miles that we actually pay for from accumulating, which is kind of weird. I actually, not that it ever would be noticed. I saw some sort of little outtake of Secretary Pete, Secretary of Transportation, somewhere. He was on Instagram, something like that. So I sent a direct message like, dude, you need to get a whole control of these airlines and these extra fees and stuff, because this is ridiculous. I mean, charging $750 or something like that to actually carry a bag on, I just don't get it. And I don't know why the administration isn't, or Congress isn't standing up and doing something about it, because I mean, it's getting worse every single time.
They don't care because they're all got status and they're in first class. So.
Well, and they don't have to pay for it because
Yeah.
you know they
We're
get that
paying the
reimbursed.
government,
Yeah, we're paying for that.
Yes.
You know, so it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, there's some tricks though that I've learned over the years. I mean, if you don't pay for a seat assignment and then you go to the counter and you just ask really nicely, I mean, they'll put you in whatever seat you want.
Yes.
Yeah, you're just like, hey, is there any chance you got?
I mean, we're shopping for some trip or round trip to the actual Dominican Republic in the beginning of June, and let me tell you something. It's ridiculously expensive.
$2,000.
No, not quite that high. I mean, but still, it's
No,
close.
it's
to
like $500-600.
well, when the add-ons are on, it's like 800.
Oh, that's right. It is. I forgot about the add-ons.
And of course, you know, the airport that we're flying in happens to be the busiest tourist one, even though they have like 6 or 7 airports in the actual island itself. So it's just kind of crazy because, and there's really limitations on which airlines are going there. So I think that, you know, we're looking at like a Frontier to go there with a stop in Puerto Rico and then a direct flight come back on Spirit or something along those
Sun
lines.
Country.
Oh, Sun Country, sorry.
Yeah. I just don't understand it. I mean, you guys are saying, you know, my trip to Vegas, like it was $59, but I had to fly like 2.5 hours past my house, you know, to get back from Atlanta. Because that was the trip. It was Atlanta back to DFW, but the layover was in Las Vegas. I don't understand it.
I don't understand any of them because, I mean, if I actually book something, and I think it's on either JetBlue or even Delta for that fact, and obviously Delta flies out of DFW, and I say, well, I'm going to go from DFW to Atlanta or DFW to Punta Cana. They'll fly us into Atlanta and then out.
Right.
But if I say, okay, well, I just want a one-way straight from Atlanta because I'll fly to Atlanta one day, you know, a couple of days earlier to be with Jennifer, and then we'll fly there. No, it's more expensive. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, none of this makes any sense.
It doesn't.
And a lot of times when you're doing these, you know, back and forth, planes are not always full too.
No, but if they are full, they a lot of times overbook their flights.
Well,
So that's why I like to
they always
always
spread
have a seat assignment because once you have a seat assignment, you know you're on the flight.
I don't know if they're going to offer me $1,000. I'm going to take it.
Well, but
It was a
if you-
10-hour layover, though.
You know what? I don't care.
But
I would
if
take
you,
it.
but if
Sorry,
you
Mike,
don't have a
Where was the
seat
layover?
In Atlanta, which is a good city.
Oh, I could do something there. Yeah.
But if you don't have a seat assignment, then you're not guaranteed to be put on the plane.
Correct.
See, that doesn't even sound legal. I mean,
Again, there's so many damn loopholes they're doing anyways nowadays to screw us over. So I mean,
I got one better for you. Did you hear? Did I tell you the story about I purchased a new ticket, so I skipped the return or something. I did something weird.
oh yeah, I know.
And then
they can ban you for that.
They resold my seat to me. I got up to the counter. I said, I don't have a reservation. She said, well, we canceled you because you took a different flight or whatever. I said, well, I need to get home. She said, well, I've got one seat left available. I'm like, that's my seat. She's like, I can sell it to you. I'm like, I already paid for it. I had to pay for it twice.
I know.
They
I'm
totally
surprised.
got me.
Yes.
I mean, and there's actually sometimes when people have done that a couple times, and the airlines have caught wind of it, they've banned them from flying on the airlines anymore.
That's crazy. So now
ridiculous.
I tell people, I say, if you're going to do that, like let them know because they just want to know. Just let them know. They won't punish you if you let them know.
Well, I mean, they can then turn around and sell it to somebody else.
Exactly.
So I mean, they
Yeah.
can fill it no matter what, but still. I mean, what if there's an emergency or something like
Right.
that? You know, I mean, things
man,
happen.
the
Or
lawlessness
What
of
if you had to
airports.
spend at least 30, 40 minutes in the bathroom? You know, something along those lines. I mean, come on, it happens.
Yeah.
You know, I just think it's like, I honestly, I think that the entire airline industry, and I don't know about worldwide, but definitely the United States, it's definitely scamming us constantly.
Oh, it has ever since they started pay. You had to pay for bags at the very beginning.
You know, if I was a little younger, I would actually be tempted to get my pilot's license and fly myself from now on. You know, because it's.
But then you'd have to get a plane and all
Well,
that
that's
stuff.
fine.
And that's
I
going to
mean-
be more expensive.
well, I mean, no, because I charge you all.
Y'all, this guy in this elevator
We're
today.
gonna be on the plane where you're the pilot.
Well, yeah, I mean, but again,
I don't think so.
There's no stops. It's straight to wherever we're going. You know, so and
I don't know. That's not
pick
the
and
problem.
choose. We pick and choose when we
You're
leave.
the pilot. I could just see us going down, hit a mountain.
Listen,
or
if you want
something
a
like that.
comparison in driving, I'm a much better driver than you. You actually call me a granny.
You are a granny.
I mean, the way you drive, I mean, we're bound to get killed one day.
Haven't yet.
Yeah, well, there you go. So,
Knock on wood.
knock on wood. Yeah, knock on wood. No. Anyhow, well, let's kind of jump into something real quick about the recap of Super Tuesday.
Was it super?
Well, you know,
It was probably super boring.
What is
everything happened the way you expected it?
Yeah, I think for the most part. I mean, there was we'll talk a little bit about Texas in itself. There was something here in Texas that really, we need to really start thinking about the impact that we're going to have in it, and is there ever going to be a change here in the state of Texas? But from nationally, obviously, we have our two candidates from the two parties. Obviously, President Biden is going to be a Democrat nominee, and then, of course, Mr. Orange will be for the actual Republican Party. That's pretty much
rematch.
Done. Since that Nikki Haley has dropped out or suspended her presidential campaign, although she did not actually throw her support to him.
Not yet, but she will.
Well, I don't know about that because, he came out. No, hear me out.
I'm going to hear you, but
obviously she suspended her campaign today. But last night when he was doing his congratulatory celebration that he had won, he was basically talking to her followers, her supporters, and saying, come on this side, but then slamming her at the exact same time. The thing about it is there was tons of interviews done on Nikki Haley's supporters out there, and they say, no way in hell I would ever support Trump. And yet you're out there bashing the candidate that they were supporting. It doesn't make any sense, and he really needs to kind of look at the bigger picture.
He's never looked at the bigger picture. He looks at his picture, and that's it. That is it.
There's definitely some.
It's worked for him for his first 77, 78 years.
Well,
granted, he's had things could crater in this next.
It's a little bit different when you're actually controlling the lives of 360 million individuals.
I don't know.
And also
he's got some followers that I still
they're crazy as hell.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about it. There's people out there saying that they want a dictator. Really? Do you not remember, the communists and stuff like that in Russia and all that? Was it successful? Was there not food lines? Was there not poverty? Was there not, basically, political trials and stuff like that? I just don't think they understand.
These people don't understand what that means.
You're trying to tell me they're not educated, is what you're saying.
Well, I didn't say that, but
yes,
if the shoe fits.
Yes, I think that's exactly what you're saying. Well, but to your point, where you're saying that you think that Nikki will definitely actually endorse him at some point in time. Obviously, Mr. Turtleneck, Mitch McConnell, came out and
he did it today.
Are you kidding me? As many times as Trump has bashed him and called him names or whatever you want to say.
His wife, too.
Oh, my God, yeah, absolutely. Because, she's Asian. So, but him to come out and actually
hasn't even talked to him since early 2020.
It's kind of crazy.
I know.
I don't know where is he the better of the two candidates out there right now?
Who?
Trump.
The better of the two?
I'm saying that in Mitch McConnell's eyes. He knows Joe Biden.
Yes.
He's worked with Joe Biden for donkey's years.
Yes.
What the hell? If you don't want to be out there politically and say, I'm going to support Joe Biden, just don't support anybody. I would respect you a hell of a lot more.
I agree with that, but he did it, and you knew he was going to do it because it's like you got to do the party.
Well, I don't know if I expected him to do it. I'd hoped he wouldn't, and the reason I didn't expect him, I didn't know whether to expect him was since he's actually stepping down as the actual minority leader. I thought maybe you got some balls now.
No,
but apparently he still wants to be in the know and kind of like a chummy with all the other individuals out there. So,
and Nikki's going to follow suit. It might be a little bit later, but she's going to follow suit.
Well, that's a sad day for the Republican Party.
Because who hasn't? Name one. Okay,
no, there's no doubt.
Christie's won.
Well, he has.
He still has it or whatever.
And I really don't think he will.
And he won't. I know he won't. But and then Liz Cheney, she's not.
Yeah,
she's going after him.
I do believe there is a growing ranks of individuals who are even some conservatives in the GOP, and I don't mean like extreme conservatives, but definitely conservatives. And I don't know if you can call the MAGA extreme conservatives as much as they're just extremists, period.
They're just an extreme cult.
But I'm seeing more and more, and I'm also seeing more of the news media outlets talking to these people who are saying that no Trump, no way. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that continues, and hopefully we see a little bit more of the tide. And the fact of the matter is, if they have not been watching his speeches and his rallies, clearly he is losing his mental capacity. The way Joe Biden, for what it's worth, he does stutter. He does kind of like, he starts talking about it and then he stops because he's going to have a hard time saying a word. But he's a little bit more coherent, maybe slow, but he's still more coherent than this idiot out there now. He literally is like, and he's like on the open mic.
Yes.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is somebody we're going to have a thumb on the nuclear weapons.
I mean, it's like I'm just like everybody else. I wish we had two different other candidates.
Well, I mean, with
But
8 months.
but the key is that's not going to happen. It's going to be the two of them, and so you got to deal with one or the other.
Yeah, well, we got to have 8 months. I mean, maybe we have somebody stronger on at least on the Democrats. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, maybe an independent. I don't know. Somebody who can actually.
It's the two of them.
I mean,
a third party is not going to win. It's only going to take away from one or the other.
You said this a couple of podcasts before that you could see Liz Cheney as the next female or the
could.
first female. If she got in as an independent, I'd damn well vote for her now.
But she's not going to.
No, I know she won't. But I mean, at least there's hope. There's hope that something will happen next 8 months, that we actually have a candidate that has a viability to last a year or two.
Because if she got in, she would take. It would probably be 50-50 on Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that he's hovering about a 25% base of the Republican side of it, who are the MAGAs. So she'd definitely capture that 25%, which is, I guess, 50% of it, more or less. Or actually, she may actually get more than 25. Maybe get maybe 60% of the GOP. Mm-hmm. She would also get a lot more independents.
That's true,
and that's what's going to be actually peeled off of Biden. So,
right.
Again,
so
I do believe that she's come out and says, the only way that you can stop Trump is to actually vote for Biden. She's actually said that. So,
yes.
I mean, I got to give her credit for that. I mean, she's biting her tongue.
She said she's going to do everything she can in the next 8 months.
Well, let's hope that other people.
It's going to be interesting to see what she does.
Let's hope other people who have sway out there actually step up and have the balls to do exactly what she's done. And again, I may not agree on her policies and the way she thinks in certain aspects of government, but I have to give her.
She's got a lot of integrity.
100% much integrity. I mean, and I say that, and I can't stand her father. So, but anyhow, let's kind of kick back on this. So we actually have our two nominees at the national level. I'm going to hit some of the national state stuff as well, just some interesting ones that I saw. But then we'll hit back onto Texas. Biden's been bruised a little bit as well. And the interesting thing about it in the Democratic side, it's not so much because of his age. It's because of his current stance on the Israel-Palestinian situation that we got going on in the Middle East. So a lot of these pockets of Muslims, Islam, and even just some progressives around the country, it's really kind of going from a 10% to 20% of individuals who are non-committed. Mm-hmm. That is something, I mean, maybe they'll come around. I hope they come around, obviously, by November. But, I mean, that's kind of serious to think about.
I mean, it's like right now you can bitch and complain all you want but then come November, it's one or the other. And all these people that are all the Palestine or whatever, it's like, who would do better, Biden or Trump? It comes down to that. It comes down to that choice on every issue you want to bring up.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole Middle East thing is kind of confusing for me about Trump. I know exactly where Biden stands. Trump is just all over the board. I mean, 1 minute, Jared Kushner is taking care of the Orthodox Jews and, the conservative government, but then he's in bed with, Saudi Arabia, MBS. I mean, it's just, and sanctioning or saying, hey, that Washington Post reporter was butchered, in the embassy in Turkey. No big deal. I mean, this is an American citizen.
I mean, the only thing that Trump believes in is build the wall and Putin. He loves Putin.
Yeah, interesting to say that. So, I mean, and again, this may be a little bit of, and I know it's kind of off Super Tuesday, but I read an article, and it was from a legitimate organization. It wasn't one of those conspiracy theories type stuff. And they indicated that, at some point he had asked for, he had the meeting, obviously in 2019 with Putin, one-on-one, not even interpreters or anything like that. Which kind of scared the hell out of even his own staff.
Right. Nobody knew what was said or was promised or anything else because there were no notes.
And apparently, the week or two after that particular meeting, he asked to understand all the assets out there, all our actual human assets out in the actual intelligence fields. And the intelligence agencies came back several months later and say, for some reason, they've seen a lot of their assets either being captured or murdered. And obviously that's a big red flag for anybody, especially when you give somebody who you already think is kind of wishy-washy when it comes to just top secret stuff. And then they kind of correlate that back to all the top secret documents that he had in Mar-a-Lago. And the fact of the matter is is he doing something in regard? I don't think it's money from Putin. There's something else going on there.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the golden shower he had. I don't know. But for some reason, I really do believe that he is feeding this information to Putin to some degree. And whether it's he owes Putin something, who knows?
I mean, that's why I'd love to see the trials go, because I'm sure that the government has some information that would be beneficial for all of us to see.
That you say that, and obviously coming from a family who was in intelligence, military intelligence, as my father was. But as a kid, I understood, top secret stuff, and I had the conversation with my father, and I was actually in London during the last when he beat Hillary in 2016. Mm-hmm. So we were in London. And I asked him the question. I said, especially about Michael Flynn. Most people don't realize that Michael Flynn was the director of the DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, which was the agency that my father actually worked for when he was in the military. And Obama fired him. It was never told to us why he was fired, and it's still a secret to this day. But I asked my dad, it's like, listen, and I showed him this photograph where he's actually sitting at the same table as Putin in Russia and Russian TV and this and that. And I said, he's obviously up for the next national intelligence or NSA type guy for the presidency if Trump wins. I was like, he was fired, right? He goes, yeah. And again, my dad's really kind of been quiet for decades in regards to the intelligence stuff. But I asked him, I said, do you think that there's something there, or am I just making up my head? He goes, no, there's definitely something there. And the intelligence agencies are fully aware of it, and they'll pull the trigger when they need to. Well, and I was like, well, okay, that's pretty reassuring. But here we are in 2024, and the assholes haven't pulled the trigger. There's clearly something that, Michael Flynn and Steve Bannon and Donald Trump, there's something there that has them tied to the regime in Russia. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, if our intelligence agencies are fully aware of what those ties are, and whether they do it because it's for the best interest in the country and it would just shatter our government, whatever it may be, wouldn't you rather root out that instead of sell us out? Because if there is something new there, that's what they're doing. They're selling us out.
Well, didn't both Bannon and Flynn, and it might not have been the right case, but didn't they get a pardon?
They got a pardon, but both did. Yeah, obviously Flynn had actually
was guilty,
pleaded guilty to actually lying to the FBI, which is one of those things, no big deal.
Right.
And Bannon, obviously, there's something else that he was up for, and then he's obviously he's currently appealing that. So he got the pardon, but it wasn't specifically. Actually, he never got a pardon.
No, he did get a pardon, but then he got convicted of not doing the subpoena.
The subpoena. That's right, for the actual one.
And so he got convicted on that, and he's appealing that.
Yeah. Well, he should be in jail, to be honest with you. He should not have been actually released. But anyhow, let's jump back over on the actual, Super Tuesday. So we now actually have our candidates who are going to potentially replace Dianne Feinstein in California, who actually recently passed away in office. And I know that we had some powerhouses on the Democrat side. Whether you had Representative Porter, you had Adam Schiff, and one of the other reps, Representative Lee. I think across the board, three good candidides.
And all three were Democrats.
All three were Democrats. And then we had Steve Garvey. I think he was in sports or something like that.
He played baseball for the LA Dodgers.
And he's a GOP. Now he's kind of more of a moderate GOP in comparison to some of the actual other figures in the GOP party at the moment in the MAGA side. So, but now as of yesterday, we actually will see Adam Schiff up against Steve Garvey. Now, I think it's a pretty safe bet that Adam Schiff will be the next senator of California.
I think that's a safe bet.
And if there's anything that I will say about that, depending on who actually gets in charge of the actual leadership of the Senate, it's going to really, if it's the Dems, it's going to really piss off the GOP, especially when they kind of pulled him off the intelligence committees on the representative side. And all of a sudden, I guarantee he's going to be back on an intelligence there. If not maybe even they do it out of spite, you make him a chair or something like that, or one of the subcommittees. So, and he's always been a thorn in Trump's ass, and I think it's going to continue.
Oh yeah. Well, that's presided if Trump wins or whatever. But Schiff did a great campaign.
Well, the interesting thing about it is, and there was some controversy specifically about it. What was the controversy? Well, this is from Porter, of course. He was targeting trying to bring Republicans over to his side, which is really what you should be doing. And she was basically saying he was trying to muddy the waters until she started getting into that a little bit as well. Bottom line is there's obviously more Democrats than there are Republicans inside the state of California. So the strategy is you need to be running against the GOP if you're a Democrat.
Number one is California politics are totally different.
Well, yeah, because you're all on the same ticket.
Yeah, because you basically are on the same ticket, and then they just take the top two.
Yeah.
So it's like it could have been two Democrats, or it could have been a Democrat and a Republican. And what Schiff did is Schiff basically put a lot of his ads on against Garvey, saying hey, he voted for Trump. He did this. He did this. So basically any Republicans that were there that would know is, we need to vote for Garvey, which then pushed him enough to be in second place, which was a great strategy.
Well, no, very good strategy. The interesting thing about that, though, is he spent less money than anybody else.
I thought he spent most, or he had raised.
You talking about Schiff?
Most. Yeah.
No, Schiff actually spent a lot of money. I'm talking about Steve Garvey spent hardly anything.
Yeah.
And he actually has money, but he spent hardly anything and still came in second, which I was kind of disappointed when all three of them announced they were trying to run for the Democratic nomination.
Well, because, you look at, it's primarily Democrats, and then you have like three big name for the Democrats. Okay, you're going to split it probably three ways, and somebody might get a little bit more or whatever. And then you still have Republicans in California, and so if you get them on one of them, they could easily get in second place, and that's what
the other thing they could end up in first place if actually the other two Democrats or other Democrats peeled away from Schiff. But he ended up obviously in the lead, which is good from that standpoint. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how that, as the next senator of California, how he kind of plays that deal. Being the junior senator, mind you, but still, because Pedro, whatever it is, who actually replaced Kamala Harris, is actually now the senior,
right?
In regards to that. So the other one that is interesting to me is North Carolina.
The governor's race?
Well, I'm going to talk about first the actual attorney general race.
Okay.
And Josh Stein, who basically was gerrymandered out of his Democratic district by the actual GOP in the actual state of California, very popular GOP Democratic representative of former military.
Wait, you said California. You didn't mean North Carolina?
North Carolina, sorry.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
Very charismatic. He actually was pretty much on the social media, and he wasn't, touting himself as much as he was just explaining exactly how the government was working. Anytime that we actually had the whole we need another bill to keep the government open, he would explain the process, or, we were called suddenly back to the actual, Congress to do this and this and this. But he was actually gerrymandered out of his district from the GOP in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. So he had no choice. He couldn't run, so he opted not to run because it was a guarantee that he was going to lose. So he actually was campaigning to become the Attorney General of North Carolina. And he actually won that on the actual Democrat side. It'll be interesting to see exactly how he pairs up against a Republican there's a lot of Republicans, although I know that there's you've seen a start kind of more equality in regards to Democrats and Republicans in North Carolina, but it's going to be very interesting because he has that personality. He has that all-American good looks. Mm-hmm. He's intelligent. He was a veteran, and he doesn't go after you nasty.
Right.
He goes after you with facts. He goes after you and very poignant and very charismatic and how he discusses things, and it's never nasty. So I'll be interested to see how well he does. But what you were talking about, of course, is the lieutenant governor of North Carolina has actually won the nomination on the actual GOP side for the governor.
Yes.
I think that the other governor was termed out or something along those lines.
Yeah, definitely. He was termed out.
But they call him the firebrand Republican who was a stalwart defender of Trump. Trump has actually called him on this a couple of Sundays ago. He called Robinson better than Martin Luther King while offering him a complete and total endorsement. I mean, this individual was better than Martin Luther King. Okay. Now, some of his stances. He has no prior experience in government at all until in 2020. And basically, it pretty much does show and run how he actually presents himself and even some of the policies that he actually been behind. He's blasted the action hero movie Black Panther as a satanic Marxist production made by a secular Jew using a Yiddish slur for black people. He did face some calls for resigning in 2020 after likening gay and transgender people to filth.
Yep.
He is a black individual.
Yes, he is.
It's just absolutely crazy. So it's going to be interesting to see if the moderates inside, moderate Republicans inside North Carolina say, yeah, that's too extreme, that's too much, and I mean, and maybe we'll even have some of those racist Republicans not vote for Mrs. Black.
North Carolina is one of those states where it is like maybe like 55-45 Republican. I mean, it's not all one-sided, even though they gerrymandered or whatever and all that stuff in the state or whatever, but they don't go to typically do not go for the extremists. I can remember one governor that basically was a gays or bathroom or whatever, something like that.
Oh, yeah, it was a transgender thing.
And then then he lost in re-election or whatever. So it's just like,
well, actually, he was the one who actually vetoed it, I think.
no, he did not veto it.
Okay, well, maybe I'm getting the governor's confused here.
Yeah,
but bottom line is to actually put a candidate forth like this, who I mean, he's a black individual, which obviously we understand that blacks are discriminated against. Who he is himself discriminated against Jews. He's discriminated gays and transgender. He's discriminated against Hollywood. I mean, everything. I mean, I just don't understand.
I mean, and again, I don't know if Trump's going to get so much involved in that one. I mean, when I say involved, I mean on the things or whatever, because this guy said so much himself that I think it's just going to be used against him. Well, he said something about, I want to recall something about women not having the right to vote.
Oh, I mean, he is so backwards in regards to his entire.
And then on one instance,
processes.
there was something happening. He wished he had his A15 or whatever to shoot the people or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, he literally needs to be put in a psych ward. I mean, literally needs to, because I mean, this guy is crazy, and yet they're going to try to elect him as a governor, a chief executive of a state.
But it's just, you look at it, it's just this round of the ones back 2 years ago where you had the crazies that were trying to get elected, and basically in all the close states, I mean, they did not win.
No. All right, so let's go to Texas, because I mean, this has been a little bit long already.
It has.
So, the best thing about Texas is we now actually have our lineup for the actual Senate campaign here. Obviously, Ted Cruz has won his GOP primary overwhelmingly. I think it was like 80 or 90% or something along those lines. And I think it was like 1.5 million people who voted for him out of the actual 3 different candidates who are out there. But now we also have Colin Audred.
Yes.
Here a Dallas-based representative in the actual Dallas-based area who actually overturned a 22-year GOP district in 2018, something like that.
Was it 2018? Because he was mine.
Yeah, in 2018.
I'm in his district.
So after 22 years being run by a kind of like hard-ass conservative Republican, he turned that around and got reelected again and again.
Yes.
So quite impressive. I actually have met him a couple of times. I think you have as well. And I mean, very charismatic himself, highly intelligent. He was a former football player, professional football player, but also a civil rights lawyer here. And he also worked in the Obama administration. Bottom line is I'm pretty excited to see that, simply because he is a moderate. He's not one of those extreme, leftists and things of that
you
sort.
can't be extreme left in Texas.
Yeah. And you got
to be a moderate.
He has also been given the moniker of the most bipartisan member of Congress, which I find extremely impressive in that regards. Now, we knew that Ted Cruz is going to win the nomination, although Ted Cruz is 4 term limits, and this is going to be his 3rd term versus the 2 that he's for.
But that hasn't gone through yet. So
it hasn't gone through.
He can say it all.
But
he
you should practice what you preach.
Well,
let's be honest.
No politician ever does that. So don't even bring it up. It's meaningless.
I will say this: I find this extremely interesting that he announced today, and it's a little like, I'm the nominee, and this is what it is, and he obviously says, they're too leftist for the Texas people, and I'm going to cream Colin, and they don't actually support the people of Texas, and yada yada. He actually went out there, and I got to read this because I just want to make sure I get it right. He rolled out a new digital ad today, touting his abilities to draw crossover voters. The video features.
Who is this? Cruz or
Cruz? Cruz.
Oh my God!
The video features several self-admitted Democrats voters who share they were not supporting Cruz. why they were not supporting Cruz. It's a part of an effort of his campaign is calling the Democrats for Cruz coalition. What the fuck does he think? I mean, first of all,
They don't think.
no. First of all, his own party
Doesn't like him.
in the entire Senate, he is the most hated senator out of everybody, including his own party.
Yes.
I mean, the guy actually has no charisma. He actually has no couth. I mean, he deserts his citizens of Texas when we're in a major storm going to Cancun.
And you know who he looks like?
Oh, well, Franken, whatever that it was.
No, it's Grandpa on the Munsters,
on the
the
Munsters,
60s show.
Well, the other thing, I mean, what probably really turns, I mean, besides the fact that I can't stand any of his policies is, during 2021, when he, went over to Cancun for that storm, he even left his dog
Ooh.
in the house. Are you kidding me?
Oh, my God.
Yeah. I mean, what an asshole. I mean, I get the fact that he's leaving our citizens, but I mean, that animal had nothing. I mean, at least can't do anything, can't ask for anything.
No.
I mean, that tells you exactly what type of character this individual is.
Well, but I mean, most of the people do not like him. And I mean, even his last election, he only won by like
2%.
2%.
Yeah. So I honestly believe that, and Beto, nice guy, but obviously he really came out touting some extreme leftist policies.
And you can't do that in Texas.
You can't. I mean,
You
as
can't.
whether it really makes sense to do that in the long run, as for humanity, it just doesn't fly in Texas.
No.
And I don't think Colin is the type of individual, and I think that kind of scares Cruz a little bit.
Oh, of course. And he's going to try everything he can.
Yeah. So
And so, Colin, let's go for it, Colin. I hope you can do it because I've never been a Cruz fan.
yeah, I definitely have not. I mean, he's an absolute asshole. So now there's two last things I'm going to do, and we'll get onto this stuff here in the next podcast we do here. But
Yeah.
I know I talked about one of the other podcasts about artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so as of now, it's taken another direction. Besides those, fake.
Well, we know
nudes
we
and
knew it was going to.
this
It's going
explicit
to get
stuff.
worse before it gets better.
The MAGA movement is now using AI to create photographs in this saying blacks are supporting Trump. Now, I've got an image here that they actually, and this is crossed. This is a fake image. I don't know if anybody can see this. It's all over BBC. It's all over, Washington Times, you name it. And it looks as real as it can be.
It does
As
look
real
real
as it can be. And you obviously have a ton
And they're
of
all smiling.
all black women. No men, just all
And
black women.
Trump's got his arm around her.
Yeah, I mean, clearly this is obviously pretty fake. But the fact of the matter is, this is the manipulation that they have at their hands, the ability to do something so quick. And you made a comment last one of our podcasts saying that this we're going to hear more about AI as we lead up to the election. You're absolutely right. This is exactly where fraud is. Mm-hmm. This is an absolute fraud to sit here and make false advertisements. These are not humans. These are not in. This is literally a computer-generated images of individuals, with the exception of Mr. Orange. And actually, they even toned down the orange
I was
part.
going to say, you don't see too much orange in that picture.
I was like, is he talking about me? I'm wearing orange. I literally looked down.
Well, or as Michael says,
we
Mr.
can't
Cheeto.
we can't see your
Oh,
underwear.
wait a minute. There is actually two black men. There's two black men, too.
Okay.
So, but I mean, the fact of the matter is, this is a fraud, in my opinion. This literally is a fraud, and it is extremely pitiful. And it's a white conservative here, a radio conservative made by the name of Mark Kay, is the one who created all these images. And he explained, I'm not out there taking pictures of what's really happening. I'm a storyteller. No, you are a fiction writer.
I know.
That's
like I
what you
said,
are.
this it's going to get worse before it gets better. It's just going to be a bumpy road. So let's all wait for the ride.
Well, and to finish up this podcast, I'm going to do one little thing here.
Oh, I see her picture.
Yes. I mean, this is obviously one of my favorite ones to knock because she's just a friggin' lunatic. And that is, of course, Margie Green Taylor, MTG or whatever you call her. Margie Green Taylor. Margie Taylor Green, is that what it is?
I don't know.
Anyways.
I don't call her
Marjorie
anything.
Taylor Greene.
Crazy bitch. Crazy bitch. And she looks like a caveman.
Yeah, but those are the best ones.
Well, and this is interesting. So there's actually a podcast out of the UK, which is actually it's kind of done with three prominent journalists, and it's called the News Agents podcast, and it's kind of interesting. But they were actually here in the state of, I don't know where, maybe DC or something like that, specifically just to interview different candidates and obviously individuals and their opinions. And they stopped her. And I'm going to turn the mic just so you can hear it, and then I'm going to kind of all see what we can talk about on this one.
And can you tell me why so many people that support Donald Trump love conspiracy theories, including yourself. He seems to attract lots of conspiracy theorists.
Well, let me tell you, you're a conspiracy theorist, and the left and the media spreads more conspiracy theories. We like the truth. We like supporting our Constitution, our freedoms, and America first. So,
what about Jewish space lasers? Tell us about Jewish space lasers.
No, why don't you go talk about Jewish space lasers? And really, why don't you fuck off? How about that?
Thanks. Thank you very much.
You have her out there basically saying, and there was a little bit of information prior to her actually making those comments, and the question being asked about the Jewish space lasers, which is a comment that she made.
She did.
You know, which she's a lunatic. But she basically said, why don't you just fuck off? This is exactly who is representing a district in the state of Georgia. I mean, this is who's been elected twice already. And this is, I mean, this literally is the portrait of what MAGA is.
It is.
100%. You can't be called on what something you said. You cannot be called held accountable for something you said, something that you just made up, or something that you believe in. Who knows? She didn't believe 9/11. She didn't believe Sandy Hook. Whatever it may be, they need to be held accountable. And the fact that people are trying to hold you accountable, and then you have the audacity to sit there and say, like, we're about holding up the Constitution. Bullshit. You actually are supporting somebody who is more than happy to decimate the Constitution. I mean, I just thought it was we needed to play that. We needed that to be heard. Where this is truly who these individuals are.
And if you could get rid of gerrymandering and make every district competitive,
yes,
you would get rid of the lunatics, and everybody would be more sane and more moderate in the middle.
The sad thing about the whole getting rid of gerrymandering, and you're 100% correct. I mean, if we really followed the true political aspects of what life should be politically, it would be great. Unfortunately, where we currently are in society, where we currently are in politics, and actually having a imbalance, horribly imbalanced and politicized Supreme Court, it will never be. Mm-hmm. There's no way. I mean, I'm on a kind of on pins and needles of whether or not this absolute immunity thing's going to actually go in his favor, because I mean the fact that they took it up in the first place is ludicrous, in my opinion. And if they come back and say that, I mean, there are definitely some things that I think that Biden should take advantage of before that. That's for sure.
Because he could shoot Trump and get away with it.
He could put him in jail. I mean, he could actually do a lot of that. He could shut down Congress. He could do whatever, and there's nothing they can do. Remove every single one of those MAGA individuals, and the interesting thing about it is Trump was confronted about that.
He
was confronted about that. Not necessarily about shooting or killing or something along those lines. He was confronted about, Biden can basically pretty much do anything. Well, that's not what I'm talking about. So we kind of did a little dance around all that stuff there, because that's not what we were talking about. No, that absolute immunity means exactly that. Any goddamn thing he does, you're immune from doing. So, and he made this comment. He says, and I mean that for every president. Well, that means the current president too.
Yes.
So if, in fact, the Supreme Court comes out in the favor of giving him absolute immunity, which means all federal cases go away, the documents as well as the insurrection goes away. If that, in
Except
fact,
the states don't.
The states don't, but in fact, the others do. And if that's I think they'll probably try to argue the states, to be honest with you, just simply saying that he's actually classified as government, federal government versus individual states. But I mean, I think they'll lose that argument. I just hope if he actually gets that win, Biden takes advantage of it.
Yeah, Biden then should kill him.
Well, anyhow, so I mean, we actually have spent quite a bit of time on just the actual Super Tuesday and some politics and all that, and we have a lot more to talk about. And we'll do that on the next podcast. But we really do appreciate you all spending some time with us today on Buddies, Booze, and Banters, Unfiltered Conversations. And I am Rick.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Alex.
Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.